You're going to be bound by money to somebody. It better be a little old lady who gives you $10 rather than a movie star who raises a $3 million a night fundraiser. So anyhow, Mike, I'd like to give this to you. I'd like to introduce you to Mike Huckabee.
I've got to be very careful not to just go and spin that right now. Campaign. I think we're going to frame it and put it in our campaign office. David, thank you, not just for the $10. So I do appreciate the $10, but thank you even more for your endorsement, your confidence, your friendship, and also for your service in the State Senate of Iowa. We have more people like David Hartz, so there would probably be some different legislation passed in the state legislature in Iowa than was in this last session. So I hope that more folks like you get elected next time, and more folks like me get to go to the White House next time as well. What a pleasure. I hope everybody can hear, but let me just say this. I'm not going to ask if you can. I did that one time when I was speaking at a big convention in Little Rock at the Excelsior Hotel. And there was about 1,000 people there, and when I got up to the podium, I could see people in the back of the room going like this. And so I said, "Can you folks in the back hear okay?" Biggest mistake I ever made was asking that question, because some guy in the back piped up and said, "No, sir, we sure appreciate it, too." We have a wonderful group of people out here. I'm just thrilled that you would come. I want to say thanks. I hope if you haven't had some popcorn, you will. Just leave at least one sack. That's mine. When I came up here, I smelled the popcorn. It smelled wonderful, and I thought, what would be better? What's that?
She's got it.
I got it.
You got my popcorn?
Thank
you. What could be more Iowa than popcorn? And I told a couple of you, I said, in Arkansas, we do rice very well. We do tomatoes and we do chicken. But I got to hand it to you. There's not better corn than I've ever had in my life that I've had up here. And I got a freezer full of it. When we left after the straw poll, I got about a bushel and took it back, put it in my freezer, which, you just put it in there like it is. And I'm sure you guys know this, but the freezer keeps just fine. And then to cook it, I soak it in garlic water all day and leave it in the husk. Some of you are going like this, so I'm going to teach you something about doing corn here. I learned it from a guy at a county fair in Arkansas. And you soak it in, like in my case, garlic water, and let it soak real good in the husk. Don't take the husk off of it. Put it on the grill. 15 minutes, flip it 15 minutes. The corn steams inside that husk. Then you just peel it and hold it to the husk, and it is the best tasting, most nutritious way to eat corn. So if you haven't done it that way, why not? How come I know that? But you can keep it all during the winter, and so in the middle of January, when when you guys are shoveling snow and we're watching weather reports, watching you shovel snow, I'll be grilling corn. I just want to be here in January. I'll be here in January. Yes, I will. I'll still be watching you shovel snow. I've never had to shovel snow in my life. In fact, I've never known anyone in my state who owns a snow shovel. If you'd like to vacation in Arkansas in January, I'll take your place here, because I'll be here for the caucuses, and you can go down, but only after you've caucused, or maybe before. I want to say what a thrill it is, though, to be with David. And we first met, as he mentioned, down in Des Moines when he was running for the Senate last year. I immediately realized that he's running for all the right reasons. And here was a guy who really had better things to do with his time. As a medical doctor, he certainly didn't need something to do. He didn't need to take that kind of time away from his medical practice, as well as his family, to be in the state legislature. But he did it because he loved his country. He did it because he loved his state, and he knew that if people like him didn't get involved, then in essence, it's like my high school speech teacher used to tell me, silence is agreement. And if we don't like what's going on, and we never speak up, and we never do anything about it, then in essence, we have agreed with whatever's happening. I used to speak to student groups a lot during my time as governor, and I go to high school and junior high, and I sometimes ask them, how many of you are interested in politics? And most kids in junior high and high school, they're not interested in politics. And I said, well, good, I'm really glad to hear that you don't care. And they were kind of surprised. And I said, well, because let me tell you, now that I know that you guys don't care about politics, we've decided that we're going to raise the age at which you can get a driver's license to 25. And we're going to raise the age at which you can even date to 30. And you won't be able to use the internet until you're 30. And immediately these kids start raising their hands, wait, you can't do that. And I would always say, oh yes I can. And in fact, if you don't care about voting, and if you don't get involved in politics, you have in essence not only said I can, you've invited me to do anything I wanted to, because the only people who could stop me from doing that would be the voters. And I said, so as long as you don't care, and as long as you don't vote, and as long as you don't get involved, you pretty well just let us do anything we want. And it suddenly got their attention. When David Hartz had said he would run for the state senate, I know it was for the same reasons that I first ran for office in Arkansas. I tell people I had 3 really good reasons. John Mark, David, and Sarah. If you haven't figured it out, those are the names of my 3 children. And I got to look into the kind of world that they were going to come up in. And it occurred to me that I couldn't guarantee that their neighborhoods would be as safe as the ones I played in when I was a kid. I couldn't honestly say the schools were going to be as good as the ones that I had the privilege of going to as a kid. And David, I wasn't just the first male in my family to go to college. I was the first male in my entire family lineage, as far as we can trace back the family tree, that ever graduated high school. I know what it's like to get an education and to be able to break a cycle of poverty, because I've been there. And I know what an incredible sacrifice my parents made so that I could live a better life than they ever dreamed. When I was 11 years old and wanted an electric guitar more than anything in the world. It was in 1966, everybody wanted an electric guitar. You know, my parents couldn't afford that. I didn't want anything else for Christmas. They would say, what do you want for Christmas? I said, I want an electric guitar. Well, we can't afford that. What would you like? I said, I want an electric guitar. That's all I asked for. I said, if you can't give me that, you know, that's okay. You don't have to give me anything. You know, I look back and I realized my parents made an incredible sacrifice. They ordered an electric guitar from the JCPenney catalog. They paid $99 for that. That's a lot of money in 1966. It took them a year to pay it off. They paid a little bit each month until they could pay it off for the whole year. But I got an electric guitar. Some of you heard our band play. I play in a band called Capital Offense. We played at the Straw Pole. What really is amazing, some of you who heard the band play still came tonight. But I started as a musician as an 11-year-old kid because my parents wanted me to be able to do something that I really wanted to do, and they made an enormous sacrifice. It may not seem like it to many people today, but I'm telling you, I look back and realize that for them, $99 might as well have been $10,000. And as I realize that I'm so blessed to live in this country, to have the parents I have, and to have the kind of community, schools I have. And I got to thinking about my own kids, and I realized how blessed I was, and I wondered, am I making as much difference for my kids' future as my parents were willing to make for me? And quite frankly, the reason America is a great country is not because it has a great government. It's a great country because it has great mothers and fathers and people who still are willing to make sacrifices for their children to live a better life. And that's what we need. And so when people ask me why I'm running for president, it's the same reason I ran for lieutenant governor and later for governor. It's because I do owe something back to this nation. And I'll never be able to pay it back. But I certainly, if I can't do it, I want to die trying. And part of what has to happen in this country is that we need to get back together as a nation. As David said, the quarter reminds us that out of many we become one. I'm afraid if today's America needed to come up with a slogan, it would be out of one, we've become many. We've splintered. We've not just divided, we've splintered. Washington is a mess, complete mess, because they're so polarized, they're paralyzed. What have they gotten accomplished? Have they resolved the situation of securing our borders? No, they have not. Have they changed our tax system so that you're actually encouraged to be productive and work hard? No, they haven't. We have a tax system that discourages productivity. It penalizes you, in fact, for productivity. A good